All right, everyone. Time to get going. Presented by Under Armour and Sleeper Fantasy. Welcome to Light Years. I have sitting in for Andy Liu, who is halfway across the country, the globe. I'm not sure where he is right now, but he'll be back this weekend. I have friend of the show, Chris Biderman, most notably known for most of you for his coverage of the Niners on Candlestick Chronicles, but also the hated Sacramento Kings. Chris, how you doing?
I'm outstanding, man. Appreciate you having me.
It's like what an interesting season. I mean, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about this off the top, but tribute to Warriors assistant coach Dejan Milojevic. It's kind of tough to watch, honestly. Like we've talked about on the pod all week. Warriors haven't played for 9 days. I don't really know how to properly address the entire subject. I think in general, the team did a good job of trying to pay respect to him the entire way through. And it was pretty like I don't need to be a psychologist or something to see like how much of an effect it had on every player there.
Right. It's just one of those things like, sometimes it's a reminder of like why sports exists because they're an ample distraction for maybe not even ample in this case, but they're just a distraction for the realities of life, and they allow us to get away and have fun and sort of share a common goal. That's not always something that happens in everyday walks of life. So at least for the Warriors, they do have sort of an outlet and actually playing basketball. And in a weird way, like when you have, and this is not to downplay the loss or anything
Sure.
like that, but like when you have so many people going through individual issues like the Warriors seem to have this year, and then you deal with like actual humanity in a very real way like they have, that provides perspective. And maybe that perspective is something that this team actually needed. Not to downplay the tragedy, and try to turn it into something else because it is nothing other than a tragedy. But sometimes in life you need a dose of humanity, and that allows you to have better perspective, and maybe that'll give the Warriors something that they've been lacking.
Yeah. They talked about it pregame. They talked about it a little bit post game, just kind of trying to play the game the right way to honor Decky. Like, there's not much else to say. So we're gonna go win for him. Like, you can't really control that, and all sort of thing. What you can do is just kind of put the proverbial BS aside and just honor someone the way that it would matter to them, which is we're just going to play hard. We're going to try to win, and the results will go the way they did. And at least for the Warriors tonight, and Atlanta's a struggling team, but I thought it was a great game for the Warriors. I thought it was exactly what they needed coming off of that type of break. Uh, you know, they're not without their flaws, but you walk away with a 22-point win at the end of the night. Uh, Players kind of get it going a little bit, and I think they're generally content that they got past the first one. Is the best way to put it.
Yeah, and they knew they were going to have that moment pregame, and that
Mhm.
has to have some sort of emotional toll, and then you have to get past that and start playing basketball, and now they're sort of past that. There's not going to be normalcy because there's nothing normal
Sure.
about it, but at least you get past that initial hurdle that you have to deal with, and now you take the next step in the grieving process and continuing your season.
Yeah, for sure. And just there's no easy way to make this transition, so I'm just gonna do it bluntly. But it's like, and they're 2 weeks away from the trade deadline, and they're
Yeah.
currently outside of the playoff picture, and there's just so much going on Not that everything needs to be resolved tonight, but it was just like a reminder that you do have to get back to work and everything else you're doing. And I don't know. I'm glad they won because I really didn't want to have the conversation of them coming out after that kind of an emotionally fueled tough moment, and then we have to discuss that they lost. So
Right.
we can start there, from the podcaster perspective. Selfishly, at least we got that.
Yeah.
Pivoting to the game a little bit here. Story of the night's obviously Jonathan Kuminga. But overall, I thought it was a spirited effort. That we'll talk the whole way through it. But Jonathan Kuminga, 11 for 11, 25 points, 9 rebounds, led the team in both categories, tied in scoring with Steph Curry. And 11 for 11 ties Chris Mullin for most points without a missed field, or most field goals made without a miss in Warriors history, whatever that means. And uh, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that, DeJounte Murray is kind of the star of the trade deadline, at least until a more famous player gets named. But it seems like he's kind of the best player who's probably going to be moved in the next 2 weeks. And anytime those rumors come around and the Warriors are mentioned, Kuminga is the name who gets mentioned on the other side for obvious reasons. He's the player teams would want from the Warriors. And I don't know, you watch a game like this tonight, it has to give you a little pause on anything like that, because at times he just looks like a future star. There's no other way around it.
Yeah, and I mean the thing with Kuminga, it's like any young player, it's consistency, right? Like it feels like he's just as viable, at some point over maybe tomorrow against Sacramento, where he has a bad night and is kind of spacey on defense and not really running the offense as a connector or finishing or whatever it is. And then you remember, oh yeah, he's a 21-year-old dude who's still figuring it out. But yeah, to your point, like he absolutely would be the thing that you want if you're another team, particularly if you're on a different time frame. If you're a younger team looking for a big athletic wing to potentially add to your long-term core, Kuminga is absolutely going to be that guy. The argument that I would make, and look, like, at the risk of upsetting anybody who's watching this, I just don't think there's any way the Warriors are going to win a title this year. I don't think there's any deal, barring like getting Kevin Durant or Giannis suddenly demanding a trade, that there's a move out there that can suddenly vault them into championship contention. So, if I'm the Warriors, I'm kind of keeping my powder dry and considering what Jonathan Kuminga's value could be maybe over the summer or next year or the following summer if he does continue to develop. Because, one thing we know about the NBA, at least in this era of the NBA, there's always going to be a disgruntled star down the line, and we don't know who that could be. Maybe Joel Embiid, like maybe the Sixers don't win the title this year and
Oh, they're
something
for sure.
happens.
They're for sure going to choke in the playoffs. But yeah,
So like maybe the Sixers choke in the playoffs and then Joel Embiid becomes disenchanted with being a 76er. Well, if you're the Warriors and you make a short-term move now to try to push all your chips in with a roster that, like, you're probably not winning the title anyway, you don't want to miss out on that opportunity to get a bona fide megastar MVP type candidate if one of those guys does spring available. And I know
what
that's obviously pie in the sky, but like that to me is the reason why you don't trade Jonathan Kuminga just yet, even aside from like what he potentially could be just if you keep him long term and what he could develop into.
I guess I have two thoughts on that take, and they're in two different directions. One is, how good do you think Kuminga can be? We discussed this one, I don't know, every other episode. So I haven't actually asked you, even though I'd like talk with you fairly frequently. So I'm just curious your perspective on him as a player. Like, I'm not asking you to proclaim like he'll be Kawhi Leonard in 2 years or something like
Right.
that. But like, just watching him, like, where are you with him as a player?
consistency is a thing, right? But
Mhm.
like the size, the athleticism, what he could be defensively, the positional versatility defensively, like
Yeah. Being
I mean,
being six
Jalen
eight and doing those things matters more than being six
yeah, I
four.
mean, I don't know if he'll ever be as polished offensively as Jalen Brown. Like, I don't know if he'll ever be that guy that you're, like, going to in, in crunch time in a playoff game offensively,
Mhm.
but that's kind of the athleticism, the body type, that's kind of what I envision him potentially being, and again, like, I don't think he's close to that. Like, you're at least 2 or 3 years away from that. So, he absolutely does not align with the Steph Curry timeline unless he does make that leap sooner rather than later. So, yeah, like, you can keep him and hope he develops into that, but I'm looking at, like, the big fish, right? Like, if you can get the best way, in my opinion, to win another title, because I don't think it's coming with this core, like, as is to get another superstar at this point,
So
and
your point is like let me back this up because we're watching the Atlanta Hawks. We know DeJounte Murray is going to get traded.
yeah.
You don't think the adding DeJounte, who's a fine player, a very good player, but not a superstar, right? To the Steph Clay Draymond mix, maybe rearranging, getting a new forward, that sort of thing. You don't think it's that. You think it has to come from like we're adding a star player and it's more about Steph and that star and Clay and Draymond on the periphery type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, like, for me, like, maybe you get DeJounte Murray and then maybe you become, obviously a better
Mhm.
version of what you are now, and, I think he handles some of the like, he handles some of the ball handling, playmaking load that you have
Mhm.
with Chris Paul right now, and then he obviously gives you a little bit more defensively, and, you can allow Clay to guard fewer of the, more athletic wings, right?
Mhm.
But I just don't know that like, are you better than Denver? Are you better than Boston? Are you better than Philly? Are you better than Milwaukee? Like maybe, but I don't know. I think if they're not there right now, I think they're and again, maybe like I don't know. Maybe they do turn it around and they become a championship contender again. It's just felt like it's been so long since they've had that form that you can feel like no, they're just like one tiny tweak. It just feels like to me like now just see if you can get these guys experience and then maybe some of these younger guys will have more trade value next year after they get more time to develop.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable, and I think the thing I keep coming back to is I I don't see enough from the core players to indicate to me that they are a one player away in
Yeah,
general, and
I agree.
more importantly, I see a lot from Kuminga. I really do. Like he was the best player on the floor tonight. I mean, Steph was technically the best player on the floor just because the way the defense reacts to him, he's always going to get the respect of being the best player on the floor. And Draymond was probably the second best player for the Warriors tonight. We'll talk about Draymond a little later, but just in terms of intelligence, defensive acumen, everything he did, he was the second most impactful player. But beyond that, like Kuminga was kind of the star of the show here, in every way that matters. Beyond scoring, rebounded the ball, the blocks and steals, just being disruptive. Not a perfect defender, but a disruptive defender. Like all that stuff, like it paints a picture of not a team that it's like we have the core three and no one can help them. And it's more a picture of we have Steph Curry,
Yeah.
and Draymond is still a very capable glue piece and a very good one, but gonna need to see it more than one game. Gonna need to see him not get suspended for an extended period of time before I'm fully trusting him. And then just like Clay, he's not what he once was. Wiggins, I don't know what he is. We can keep going down the line where it's not about adding to the core; it's more about like just adding talent in general.
Yeah, but if the trade is, if it's DeJounte Murray for Chris Paul, his expiring and Wiggins, I don't know if that deal
Maybe
works.
a pick or something.
And a
Yeah,
pick. Yeah.
something where you're not like
Yeah,
trading one of the
I
players we're talking about. Yeah.
yeah. My point on Kuminga is like I'm only trading him if I know I'm getting a megastar.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you can make a move for somebody like Murray and all it costs you is Wiggins and Chris Paul's contract, then I would fully be on board for something like that. But it's just I think Kuminga's ceiling is just so high that if you trade him now, you're selling low and you could potentially get way more for him if you held on to him for another year. Or if he's that good, then you just keep him and then you have, potentially again,
The
I
guy
don't
you always wanted, which was
yeah, the guy you
the
always
young
wanted.
piece, the young
Yeah.
piece who's going to be the bridge to the next generation, right? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, I want to get into that real quick, but got some bills to play. So I played this game on Sleeper Fantasy, and I like DeJounte Murray. I'm high on him, so I played the points and the assists pretty high, 34 and a half. Didn't win on that one. I lied to myself that I was going to win, but I didn't. He hit 30 on there. So the prop fell right there. Steph also didn't hit my over on 28 and a half points. I knew Looney was going to give me the rebounds. I knew because Decky was his coach. There's no way Looney's not hitting that over. At least he did that. Ultimately, I didn't win, but it was fun to watch this one. I got like 5.65 multiplier on 3 prop bets, which were good bets in general. You can't win them all. Sometimes how it goes. If I had to do it over again, maybe I wouldn't have bet the Steph over. Never bet Steph over when you're expecting the over. It always comes when you're not expecting it. That's probably the one that I kind of regret a little bit. I probably should have leaned into the Looney and the Sarge rebounding a little harder, but we'll live. Either way, Sleeper makes it fun to play these games. Sleeper's a fantasy sports plus real money gaming app focused on bringing people together through sports and gaming. Sleeper has become the fastest organically growing fantasy platform in the world. Over 5 million active users. Use promo code LIGHTYEARS and you will get up to 100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use and details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Once again, Sleeper, promo code LIGHTYEARS. All right. I thought it was a B- game from our guy DeJounte Murray. The classic trade game, right? Where you're like, oh, he's hot. I want to see what he's about. You've roster baited in your mind about how he's going to change your team for like 2 weeks. You're sitting here going like, that's all we need. I just need that mid-range pull up, that little like hezzy step, get in the lane, and then we're back to a title. Then you watch him play and you realize, okay, he's not peak Michael Jordan and probably won't be the single reason things change. I thought he played a good game. I thought overall good, but I guess my question for you is, and you kind of dance around it a little bit when we're talking about Kuminga. 27 years old, 6'5" point guard, at one point made all defensive team, has been an all-star. How much do you like him for the Warriors, and how much are you willing to give up if you're the Warriors to get a player like that?
I like him. I do wonder if there are some of the same questions that would persist with Steph that are there with him and Trae Young as a pairing. Because he's a tweener in that, like, do you fully trust him to run an offense like like you do Chris Paul with the second unit or even with the starters, or is he a guy who might be looking for a shot a little bit too much while you have Steph Curry on the floor, right? And I think there's probably a balance that he could find, and that's sort of the bet the Warriors would be making on their culture if they were to get him. But no, I think he like adding Chris Paul makes sense from the standpoint of it allows Steph Curry to play off the ball, and this would had a similar element with the addition of more athleticism and defensive versatility, which I think would be a good thing. Um, I would do just like I would do a package that didn't include Jonathan Kuminga for him. I would
So
do
Kuminga's off the table for you.
yeah, for Murray, he is.
Willing to include a future pick?
Yeah, like a first, Wiggins and Chris Paul's expiring. I have no idea if like if that would be appealing to Atlanta. Um, but I think Wiggins
And
like
Moses Moody.
yeah. I mean, I think Moody could be good. I just don't know that Moody's ever going to be like an all-star type player. I think he's, you know, I don't know. Is he Danny Green? Is that Moses Moody's ceiling?
It's the
Like
way he's projecting right now. But yeah,
it's a very useful player, but it's not somebody who should be off the table when it comes to getting a potential all-star type or an all-star type talent, someone who's been an all-star. So yeah, like if it was Murray, it would be a pick. It would be Wiggins and maybe the Chris Paul expiring and see where you can go from there. But again, like I saw some people in the chat saying it would, obviously I'm not saying that I would only trade Kuminga for a star. It would be a package involving Kuminga and a bunch of other things. It would, like so.
sure.
But yeah, no, for Murray, I think I would hold on to Kuminga. I don't think Murray's. I think he's good. I just still like the idea of Kuminga's development and what his value could be a year from now on the trade market versus
One of the things
selling low right
we
now.
never discuss is like, okay, Kuminga is playing really good right now. Would you rather trade him or a future 2028 pick? And I say that from the perspective of Steph's 35 years old. He's going to be 36 this season. That pick aligns with, I mean, I think he's going to age well, but like we're getting into Tom Brady territory, which is just like you shouldn't be projecting that he's still going to be God when he's 40, right?
Yeah.
And you could make an argument that it's smarter to sell on someone like Kuminga right now when they are very hot, like, and you haven't paid him a contract. Someone else has to figure out, it's very easy to love someone when they're a low paid player. It's a different story when they're making 35 million or whatever the hell he'll make post contract. Meanwhile, that pick might be the player you need to quote unquote start your rebuild because at some point it's going to happen.
That is a pretty low percentage though, right? Like if you were just doing the probabilities, like what's the probability of that pick being your franchise savior for the next era of basketball?
Sure.
And again, I don't want people to think I think Kuminga is going to be like an MVP candidate, but I look at sort of the philosophy with the Clippers trading Shea to OKC, right? Because that, well, I mean, the Clippers are really good right now, and Paul George is absolutely a part of that. But long term, it's like, man, you would rather have Shea entering his prime than Paul George on the back nine of his career, right?
Fair.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at with Kuminga. And again, like he's not anywhere close to that yet, but he does have that upside. And he's everything that the Warriors have been lacking in terms of the athleticism, the size, the ability to potentially play make on the wing. Like he represents everything the Warriors don't really have long term. And that's why I think you would be selling really low if you traded him right now. That's
Yeah,
why
it's
I'd be
kind
willing
of
to wait.
it's the okay. So he's not that guy yet, but he's closer to being that guy than this fictitious pick.
Yeah.
You're worried about. Which, I mean, it's a fair point. I'm sure the Warriors are going to leverage it right now. I don't know. It's. I was ready to say I'm willing to trade him for DeJounte Murray pregame, and then you watch that sort of thing, and I'm like, well, hey, that's what you want to see from play. You want to see
Yeah.
him make it tough for you. That's where I'm at with it. I don't know. It's a tough one. Not to make everything about trades, but like at the same time, this is all any Warrior fans can talk about for the next 2 weeks till we get past the trade deadline. So
Yeah, I mean
fair.
the thing with the 28 pick too is like, you're kind of leaving that up to the lottery too.
Yeah,
You could, that you might have the second or third best odds to get the number one pick, but you end up picking fifth.
true,
And then
true.
in a
Yeah.
in a bad draft, potentially, who knows what the 2028 class will be like. So it's just,
Or a
yeah,
good
it's a
draft, and
tricky
you end up with
spot.
like a Marcus Smart, which is like fine, but you're not gonna like
Right,
cry for eternity because you missed
right,
a glue guy.
right. And
Yeah,
I mean, it speaks to just how difficult a spot the Warriors are in. Like they're in an incredibly difficult spot, and this is why Bob Myers left. He was like, I don't know. This
I don't
is
want to go down that road. That's just a weak move.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
yeah, I guess I'm with you on that.
professionally, I can respect it. He's just like not. I'm not gonna be the one remembered for the bad times, but kind of weak.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Uh, what was I gonna say? Okay, let's pay a couple other bills. Lightyear is sponsored by Under Armour. Steph Curry makes you believe you can do anything, and the Curry 11s are specifically designed with ultimate bounce, grip, and stability to allow everyone to do their thing. New generations of ball players are coming up and showing the basketball world that the old rules do not apply. The future is exciting, fast, positive, and hungry. This NBA season, rock with your favorite player and rep his shoes off the court. The Curry 11s, Under Armour. And then secondarily, Lightyears is sponsored by GameTime. I don't know about you guys, but nothing is more frustrating to me than buying tickets online. Half the time, I'm worried I'm going to get ripped off and it's going to be a fake ticket. The other half, I'm just annoyed trying to figure out, like, is this the best price? That sort of thing. Uh, so the Game Time app allows you to buy tickets and see the view of your seat before you buy it, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All in prices, show your total upfront, so you know you're getting a great deal before you check it out. Buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LIGHTYEARS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code, promo code LIGHTYEARS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right. I guess I want to let's do this. I'm going to open it to callers, and I'll let you get out of here, Chris. I really appreciate you coming through.
Sure.
Warriors play the Kings tomorrow. Let's say you're Mike Dunleavy. You're, you got 2 weeks till the trade deadline. What are you looking to see from this team to help you aid a decision about what direction you're going with in the next 2 weeks? So they got like a handful of games. Obviously, the tragic passing of Decky doesn't help these things. It only makes everything harder to figure out. What are you looking to see from this team to guide your decision?
You want Draymond Green to play well, and maintain composure and be the defensive force and the connector on offense that he's been for so long when he's not acting out. You want Jonathan Kuminga to continue to grow and evolve, and look like a guy that uh, deserves to be in your future plans in a serious way, right? Because either that means he's on your team contributing to winning, or he's a huge asset that you could potentially move for a current star who fits along the timeline with Steph Curry. And you want Clay to continue to be consistent and shoot well. I mean, and not like play within himself, not jack up crazy shots and all of those things, and hopefully get Wiggins to snap out of whatever 2-year long funk he's been in. But I don't know that you can count on that at this point.
No, not at all. All right, Peterman, I appreciate you.
No problem, man. I'll stick around if you want.
Yeah, you can hang out. We
Okay.
got our number one doomer, Geo, up here. You're about to get into the dark hellhole that is the caller segment.
Okay.
If you wanna tap in, hit the button. We'll bring you up stage. Gio, what's up, buddy? So mad he can't even turn his mic on. Oh. Wow.
Podium game for Saric, apparently.
Say again?
Podium game for Saric.
Sounds about right. I mean, Saric was very close with Decky.
Oh, good point.
He also played. I think he had a good game in general. Yeah. But yeah, probably a bigger picture here. All right, Tashian, come up.
Yo, what's going on, you guys? How's it going?
Yeah, just hanging in there. Appreciate you being able to use your mic, unlike Gio.
Well, I'm not a boomer, apparently, even though I've been working like the entire day since like 9. So yeah.
There we go. What you got for us?
Nothing much. I mean, we could talk about. Oh, this is the first time in about a month that the Warriors decide to play with some pride, and it shouldn't take extreme circumstances for them to. And it shouldn't have taken this type of extreme circumstances, but that's for another time. I just want to. I think now is probably a good time to just appreciate Decky for sure, because it's I think the best way to put it in realistic terms is we thought Looney was gone, dead in the water in 2020 and 2021, and then he magically, along with Looney's hard work, of course, but he magically made Looney one of the best top 10 centers in the league, and for the past 2 years, and I don't think it can be understated how much of a big man coach that he was, whether it's maybe Jokic, but just to see him duplicate himself with Looney, it's so much magic at this point. And I personally going to probably watch the DVR video and how to see his legacy, Decky's legacy and whatnot. But it's I am just amazed how much he's tried to prove not only Looney but also try to get Trey Stackton as well to be such a high impact player as well. So Decky, thank you for at least giving me some hope, because Wiseman has taken all the hope that I had in my life about big men.
Tasha, I appreciate you. No, I mean, I think it's Looney is actually the greatest example of his impact as a coach. Looney was drafted as a small forward. He had multiple hip surgeries. I wasn't going to say 6, but that would just be an exaggeration. But it was more than 2, which is more hip surgeries than a human should have. Yeah. I thought he was going in a negative direction. Looney then figured out how to kind of make himself a functional rotation piece, but he was still kind of the 10th, 11th man in the Warriors rotation, not an important piece. Decky turned him into one of the best rebounders in the NBA. No one's going to confuse Looney for Joel Embiid or Jokic going for 70 and all that silliness. But he went from kind of a fringe player who it was unclear how long his NBA career was going to run to Looney's a respectable NBA player. Everyone knows what you're getting with him. He's going to play defense. He's going to rebound the ball. He's going to play a role for your team. I know he torments the city of Sacramento.
I was going to mention that.
But that's coaching 101, taking a guy who's kind of on the periphery of the NBA and you can do something.
Yeah. I was going to mention going into the playoff series last year, being here in Sacramento and being around so many Kings fans and Kings media members was, everyone's oh, Domantas Sabonis is going to destroy the Warriors. And I was I mean, maybe, but the people here were acting like the Warriors had, or the Warriors had no answer for Sabonis. And I was Kevon Looney's pretty good. He's good in the ways that the Warriors would need him to be good in that series. And he was even better than I thought he would be. And Sabonis was, I think he led the NBA in rebounding last year. If not, I know he was top 2 or 3. And Looney dominated him on the glass and dominated him defensively. And I thought it was a major reason the Warriors won that series.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's never going to be flashy. He's never going to have the offensive skill of someone like Sabonis. Never going to give you 25 points. Do some of the things a player like that can do, but like he took Sabonis out of his game, which is worth more than him being able to hit a couple shots would do. Which and that speaks to kind of Decky's impact. I'm gonna keep moving. Gio, are you gonna actually get your mic working this time? I'm not gonna bring you up a third time, just to be clear. Wow. What a failure. Just to be clear, he is a regular and he does know how to use his technology. So, we all have off nights, but I will troll him for that. So it's okay.
None of us are immune from a technological breakdown.
It happens. Trade Gio. Yeah, we're trading Gio. He's on the block.
Yo.
What's up, man?
What's up? I mean, first off, RIP Decky. Like you mentioned, I don't think we win the ring without Decky. Like, I don't think Looney gets 22 rebounds game 6 against Memphis without him, right? So, RIP Decky. A couple things. I've been on the, fire curse train for a very long time, but today was a good reminder. Like, he was the best coach to have for the situation, right? And you always forget coaching, like a lot of his tactics and lineups, but honestly, I think a majority of coaching is like just managing personalities in life. And dude, like, shout out to Kerr. Like, I don't think any other coach would have been able to get us through this and all the players. So yeah, I know it's been a little bit of doomsday of Kerr, but shout out to Kerr. To get on a brighter note, Kuminga, great. One offensive like comparison I want to throw out. And I'm not saying he's him, but today, like I always thought, like, oh, can Kuminga be Kawhi? I know you guys mentioned Jaylen Brown, but damn, today he looked like Suns Charles Barkley in the post. Like Charles Barkley, like, kind of like goofy handle, like Kuminga, athletic, but has finesse. And I was like, that one move where he kind of slowed down, faked, and then stepped through. I was like, that looks like Charles Barkley. So much ups to Kuminga. Love to see that. And lastly, I know the trade rumors are all crazy. I shout out to Chris. I don't think we can trade Kuminga for the low right now. But would you, both of you, do it for Mikal Bridges? Like, and I'm talking about like, it'd be the home run, like Kuminga, Moody, maybe Brandon, picks and everything galore. But I'm very high. I don't know how the brass see him. So just thoughts on that.
Appreciate the call, man. That's these get painful. These get painful because he threw it out there like Mikal Bridges, Kuminga, ouch. Pajemski, the first rookie they've had in like a decade who can play. And then you're probably throwing picks on top of it because Mikal Bridges is a hell of a player. And quite frankly, they can demand the type of package for a player on like a team-friendly deal who is controlled for a couple more years. Do you do that if you're the Warriors?
Are you winning the title with Mikal Bridges?
Tough,
are you getting to the Western Conference Finals?
I do think you get the Western Conference Finals. I do think you have a very realistic shot at the Western Conference Finals.
I mean, it's not a bad contract.
No, it's a great contract. That's like part of the reason you have to give up so much for him is he's inked to a below market deal, right? Like, let's just be honest. Yeah. If he was on the free agent market, he would get a substantially larger contract than the one he signed.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying. Is he he's more of like the perfect third option that he is like what the Warriors need right now, which is someone better than Clay. But he's a hell of a player. And I'm not sure any of the guys that we're listing in a trade are better than it, will ever be better than him. Like, it's a lot of you need to hit a home run for any of those guys.
Yeah, I think I feel like the same way about Bridges as I would Murray. I think it's a similar type. Like, obviously he helps and he makes your team substantially better. But I don't know. Am I drinking too much Kuminga Kool-Aid to be like to think you're selling low? Because I think Kuminga's ceiling is higher than Bridges and higher than Murray's.
But he's not gonna hit it.
Yeah, that's fair too.
The odds that so I could understand the logic of holding off for a bigger deal. I also understand your point, which is like you kind of only have one shot at this trade, and you need to hold everything on to someone with a higher upside than the guys we're talking about.
Just like
that's like the tough point that like you keep going back to, because it's like I can get DeJounte Murray now if I'm willing to put it all on the table, but if you put it all on the table for him, are you really that much farther than you want him to be? You know,
I mean, my thing, like, I honestly think the Warriors' best shot at winning a title is when this next disgruntled superstar becomes available. So, like, you know, I don't know, like if Giannis. It doesn't seem like it's going well in Milwaukee, just hypothetically. If Giannis is like, I want out in the next year or two, and you have Kuminga ascend to whatever we think he could be, like that's the guy the trade is centered around potentially. And then you get the guy who can help get Steph another championship. But maybe I'm just drinking too much Kuminga Kool-Aid. That's entirely possible. But I think
no, I mean that's the reality of the Warriors issue. I'm going to like cut it down to the core point. There's no obvious move. To your point, we're not discussing trading Kuminga for Kevin Durant or Joel Embiid. Those are moves that only fringe lunatics would be like, no, we don't want to do that. You know, like, right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's very unclear if someone like Kuminga will ever be as good as DeJounte Murray. You know, like we're not talking about, and I don't mean to speak negatively of Kuminga because he played a great game tonight, but this isn't Wembanyama or Chet Holmgren, where like the first time you watch him, you're like, oh, okay, you know, I know that's a dude. He's like the classic. Like I could see Kuminga becoming better than Jaylen Brown in 2 years. I really could. I could also see him becoming the maddening wing prospect who's like good, but just not that guy for eternity. Like they're sitting in that middle. Like it could go any direction, right?
It could be Jaylen Brown or it could be Andrew Wiggins.
Exactly. Honestly, yeah. Or Harrison Barnes, right? Like exactly. That sort of thing where you're just like really like him, but he's not that guy. So
yeah, no, it's I'm not, that's just like my opinion. I'm not pretending that I'm smarter than anybody else. That's just my take on it.
Yeah. All right, McWalters. What's up, buddy?
Yo, what's going on?
Hey, you know, just hanging in there. Happy to be on the Decky game. They needed to get beyond it. But how are you doing?
You know, same thing. I'm glad to see Warrior basketball again, and no, you know, tragedies aside and whatnot. You know, Decky was amazing for the team, and even though it didn't work out with Wiseman, I mean, look, we got an added bonus with Looney that was even better than they could ever imagined. And you know, just hats off to all the great work he did overseas in Serbia and whatnot. And you know, he'll be missed for sure. But I don't know if you're necessarily selling low if you're selling Kuminga right now. I feel like this is the time you've given him enough runway that someone will be intrigued now, right? Whereas maybe a month ago it's kind of like, all right, now I'm taking all the risk here. Now it's like, well, this guy shows he can score, he can draw fouls, he can have nights like tonight. And I don't think that's a reason for the Warriors to pivot at all. But it's like, what else do you have to attach to get in there, and what are you getting back, right? Like if I'm getting Dejounte Murray back, okay, awesome. Now I've got another backcourt guy to go with Steph with all the other backcourt guys.
We love guards, buddy.
I know, but like guards aren't helping us in the post. Guards aren't helping us get rebounds. Like, and everyone in the Discord wants to get Capella. Capella is not playable in the playoffs. Like, he's not helpful. Like we run that guy off we made the book on how to run that guy off the court. Why would we want him? You need to ask for DeAndre Hunter or another person to like come in there, especially if you're going to move Wiggins in the same deal, right? And it just, I don't know. I just don't see the fits. I don't see us getting Bridges, and I don't see, even if we did, we'd probably want Claxton as well, and they're not going to give us Claxton. It just seems like a mess. And then I kind of get back to the other point from Chris, which is like maybe the move is just to do it in the offseason. You're not really going to make a huge push this season. You're not going to win anything this season. You're barely going to make the playoffs if you have a run in you this season. It doesn't seem like that makes a whole lot of sense to do it now, And that's coming from an optimist.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't disagree with you. I don't think it's unfair to look at it from that lens.
Yeah, and there's no, I mean, I could see it as one thing of like, hey, we want to keep that $30 million slot with CP3's thing, and we need to deal it, and the only way to deal it was Kuminga. But if you think Kuminga has actual value, then now you got to hope that someone values just him, and you attach CP3 with him, and I don't know, I just don't see it.
Appreciate you, McWalters. Great one. End it with our guy, the drummer. It's a nice dog.
Hello.
What's up, man?
Yeah, I wasn't sure you guys would call on me since McWalters usually gets the closing, but thank you. I was getting wistful in like two different ways during that game. I mean, I was watching my kid on the monitor, like my 8-month-old, during the opening Decky ceremony, and seeing his kids. I was like, jeez. But then I got wistful when I saw the Wiggins, Kuminga, Draymond lineup in a totally different way. I was like, I was hoping to see this at some point, and they had like a 4-minute scoring drought, but it's like too late now. We're gonna trade one of them. I'm just like, man, I don't know. It was fun. It was a fun game. I'm happy they won, but it's probably too late on the season. So that's kind of where I'm at.
That's fair. Would you trade Kuminga?
No.
Or are you okay? You're firmly in the nothing you're getting is changing the trajectory. I'd rather see what this guy has.
Nothing right now. I mean, yeah, no, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. I want to see him finish up the season. I'd love to see him start again, but they're going to keep Wiggins out until they trade him, and then even if they don't trade him, he'll probably still be in the starting lineup.
The calls come from above. Showcase Wiggins. People need to see those 2 for 11, 7.1 rebound performances.
He played better tonight, I have to say. He looked better out there, but yeah, no, he can't shoot for shit right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, guys, have a good one.
Have a good one. Biderman, I appreciate you hopping on. We'll end it here.
Appreciate you having me.